Hi everyone, Michael from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au. So, we're not doing the live Wednesday viewing today. We thought we'd do something just a little bit different. We'd play around with it a bit and go through some of your questions as we normally do on YouTube. So, anything that's been a little bit complicated or a question that's been asked a few times, anything along those sort of lines. But we thought we'd add some industry gossip, things that are coming out, some innuendos and rumours onto it. So hopefully it won't go for too long, but hopefully there'll be some pretty interesting stuff scattered through this for you. So, well, hopefully all of it's interesting actually. But anyway, let's see. Something will grab you, undoubtedly. Alrighty, so kick off right from the top. I don't think we really need to go through this one. There's half a dozen that we've got up here since our last Michael's Mailbox. The first one being the Libertads, but I think we've actually talked about those a number of times online now, so we might skip over that one, other than to say we still do have a few of the Libers left, the Libertads. But huge premiums on them, as lots of people commented on, but still been well received overall. So it's certainly worth bringing in, I think, for the overall result that we had. And I'm just going to change sides with my camera here so I can actually read what's on my screen a bit better. Alrighty, so the next video we're looking at is what happened at the World Money Fair. So that all tidied up a week and a bit ago. Ruben and Mark are both back in country, and hopefully we're going to bring you some red hot gossip over the next few days as to what they saw and heard over there in Berlin. A lot of support for them over there. A lot of comments on the 1 ounce coloured kangaroo that was released especially for the Berlin Money Fair. And in fact, we will bring hopefully the one that they purchased actually from the World Money Fair itself. So it was exported all the way to Germany by the Perth Mint. The guys actually bought one over there and shipped it all the way back to Australia. So hopefully later on this week or early next week, we'll actually run an auction for that one. So you can get a genuine Berlin World Money Fair coin out there. I also noticed, talking to Matt last week, that the ANDA shows this year, so that's all the coin dealers, the numismatic dealers around Australia, all to do with this ANDA show, and they produce them in the capital cities as they go around throughout the year. And it looks like the Perth Mint is doing these coloured kookaburras through all the ANDA shows, so a specific one for each ANDA show. So if you get chance, I'd strongly suggest you get hold of those, because they are a beautiful coin, but they also are a very limited edition, and they will be a collector's item, in my opinion. Again, this is only opinion. It's not based in any fact, but moving forward, I think it would be a good one to get hold of. So, yeah, that's pretty much all out of that video. It was all mainly comments thanking Ruben and Mark over there, and also talking about the coloured kangas and a few other things that they found over there. So the next one we want to look at was the epic buybacking that we did. Now, this one was fantastic. A lot of comments on this one about makes my stack look a little dismal. You got to remember that everyone's stack starts from 1 ounce, so don't get depressed by seeing large other stacks. That was a combination of several buybacks that we had at the one time. So it's not like somebody walked in with all of that and dropped it on us, all that variety and the size of that stack. Quite often people are selling back, 5 coins or 5 bars or 10 or 20 or 30. We get all sorts of combinations. Having said that, we do have someone selling back 80 by 1,000 ounce silver bars very soon. So you'll actually see that. We'll do that on. We'll do an epic buybacking for it. But you heard right, 80,000 ounces of silver all in one hit. So we do get that whole spectrum of people selling back just a couple of 1 ounce coins in silver, all the way through to, in this case, I mean, that's over 2 ton worth of silver will all come back in one hit. So, and everything in between. So don't get depressed about it, but have a look. It's always exciting seeing these buybackings We've got a couple of good ones coming up in the very near future. We've had a few really interesting ones, actually. There's one, in fact, the phone call that I just took that interrupted this this video was actually a really interesting gold one that you'll see coming to a video near you very, very soon. So yeah, lots of support for the variety in there. It highlighted one of the bars that we don't actually see very often. If you haven't viewed the video, I strongly suggest going back and seeing it, if nothing else, for the extruded bars. It's not something that's, in fact, I can't think of anyone that is currently doing extruded bars. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments, but I can't think of anyone that's actually producing extruded bars at the moment. But there's some extruded kilo bars that are shown in this buybacking, and I really like them, actually. They're almost that stereotypical bar shape that you see on the Hollywood movies. The kind of, if you look at it end on, it's kind of that triangular finish, which you don't see on a lot of bars, because most bars are cast bars. So I'll do it correctly this time. The granules are actually poured into a mould and then heated in the mould, so it becomes a liquid, allowed to cool and then tipped out, a little bit like along the cake tin theory that I've mentioned before. Or they're produced in a big sheet, and then they're stamped out on a production line. So that's your minted bars. The extruded bars come out of like almost like a pastry tube, or if you've ever iced a cake before, those big icing things, and then they're just sliced out as they come out of this big long run of them. So yeah, it's a different method, produces a different looking bar, and actually a really nice one. So go back and have a squiz at that if you get a chance. Alrighty, next video that we're going to look at is the trolley full of silver roos, rabbits, and the other thing that was on there, which I've had a momentary blank on. Oh, it was the Noah's Arks, wasn't it? So beautiful coins on this one. A little bit of interesting, not pushback, that's the wrong thing. But a lot of support for the Royal Australian Mint Ram coin. So that's the Year of the Rabbit that they produced in silver this year. And it's quite a good design, but it's a little bit pricier when you compare it to something like the Perth Mint Rabbit. And there was quite a bit of back and forth on that, the discussion on it. And look, at the end of the day, they do produce, not saying that Perth Mint don't produce a good-looking product, because they absolutely do. But the Ram one is certainly the equivalent of the Perth Mint in design, and some would say a slightly better design. That comes down to personal opinion. But they are a slightly dearer coin because Ram don't produce a lot of these coins. Whereas, and I say in the video, where Perth Mint is more a bullion company that produces a little bit of numismatics, Ram is obviously the other way around. They produce the coins that go in your pocket. They produce numismatics, but they also produce a small number of investment grade bullion coins. And because it's a small number, the premium is that little bit higher. But I would argue it's a very good quality. So certainly grabbed some of those myself. And by the looks of it, a lot of other people did too. Heaps of kangaroos in. You'll see them on our website. It's good to have that core product there. Towards the end of last year, we couldn't get kangaroos come hell or high water, so it's great to have heaps of them in, and that's part of that video as well. And then the Noah's Arks, which are always an interesting flavour to add to your stack. It's an Armenian coin produced in the States, but it's an Armenian coin. And it's a great design, a basic design, but a really pretty design, and not too expensive, although they have increased the premium a little bit, but it's not too expensive when you compare it to, the others of their ilk that, stereotypical Philharmonic, maple, those types of things. So a good one to look at. All right, the next video, this one caused a bit of controversy, so we're gonna sit on this one for a minute. So this was the one about the wedge-tail eagle. Now, this one was always hard, and if you've seen my apology video, I'm going to repeat a little bit of it. But there's always this tension with with something, a release like the wedge-tail eagle. When they're a very limited edition and they are a very popular coin, and this one, the wedge-tail eagle is a very popular series. There are a lot of people that collect the wedge-tail eagle design. It's done by McCanty. Oh, I'm having a mental blank. Mr. McCanty. So it's done by him, and who is an American designer, worked for the US Mint for many a year. He's now in retirement. So he does this for the Perth Mint as a special release. Now, this design is actually owned by an American company. And so the contract with the Perth Mint is that they will produce 50,000 of these and ship the vast majority of them over to the US for sale over there with this particular company. Now, this is not unusual. It's not something that's, a big secret or anything along those sort of lines. Perth Mint do this with several different companies from around the world. And then they give the remaining number, and it's only a few thousand ever. The remaining number goes to one or two or occasionally three different dealers within Australia. Now, we're lucky enough to be included in on this one, but our whole allocation was 2,000, so it was never going to last long, although I have to admit I did expect it to last a little bit longer than what it did in this case. So justifiably to a degree, we copped a bit of heat because we sold out quite quickly. Now, we could have slowed down that sellout by doing one of two things, or we could have done both. One is we could have actually increased the price on them at far more than what the Perth Mint sold theirs for. And we don't do that as a company. One of the customer service is incredibly important to Bullion Now. That's one of the reasons that we set up Bullion Now, and I would argue it's one of its niches, one of its standouts. Is the level of customer service that Bullion Now offers. Part of that customer service is not what I would term price gouging. We don't do it. We don't try and do it. We try and bring good, wanted items to market at a fair market price. So sometimes we do need to charge extra, a la Libertad. And, it's far more than I want. It's one of the reasons why we haven't imported American Eagles for quite a while, is because I don't find them to be a very fair price. So we've pushed back against those. We haven't imported them. In this case, the Wedge-tail Eagle, we brought it to market and we charged what we thought to be the fair market value, which is what Perth Mint was pitching it at. We could have increased the price, as I've noticed other companies have, and it would have slowed down the sales, but that's not what we do. The other thing we could have done is limited it to, 1 per person, 5 per person, whatever. I got to say, as a stacker, that frustrates me when companies do that. We have been known to do it. We cop a lot of heat when I do it, because people say, well, I don't just want 1, I want 5, because, I've got, other people I want to give it to, or I want, X reason. Quite a lot of people buy 21. And in fact, the vast majority of our sales are for 21 at a time, because people want a roll to stack away plus one to look at, because, everyone wants to look at it and show around their friends and that type of thing. So for us to limit it to 1 or to 5 or any of those sort of numbers, it frustrates people as well. So we cop a lot of heat for that. What we try and do is we try and invoke the fair play policy. So we say to people, don't buy a ridiculous amount. Don't buy heaps so, you're going to resell them straight onto eBay or something along those sort of lines. Share the love around. But, if you want 21, well, go right ahead and order 21. And I have to say that every order that we've received, I don't know of any, and I will go and, as they come through, we check them for, legitimacy. And I didn't notice any in particular that were, no one ordered hundreds of them. I think the largest order that I've seen at the moment, the largest order was about 40, and I think there was 2 of those that went through, 2 different people. But I wouldn't consider that to be a large amount in a 1 ounce coin, or a ridiculous amount. It's only 2 rolls. Most people, even if I was buying, and I didn't actually get any for my stack, unfortunately, but, even if I was buying them for my stack, I would have bought one roll for me to keep forever, and 1 roll for me to give away, amongst my children type of thing. And I would have bought 1 to show around. So I would have probably ordered 41 if I was just ordering them as a normal collector's item. Now, I just want to emphasize, I actually didn't order any for myself at all. And I'm hoping to pick one up in the secondary market later on down the track. But I don't like limiting numbers. I play on people's sense of fair play. And I got to say, I'm very rarely disappointed. So for anyone that's thinking, oh, it's not fair, somebody's gone and ordered 1,000 of them and they're selling them on eBay, we're certainly not seeing any evidence of that at this stage. So getting back to the coin itself, I actually find it's a beautiful design. I love, if you haven't seen it already, I encourage you to go back and view it. I love the way they've taken the whole design over the edge of the coin. So the wingspan of a wedge tail, if you've ever been close to one, is humongous. They can get to 6 foot wingspan easily. So it gives that impression of this massive wingspan on a very small planchet. So I think it's great the way they've done it. They've kind of confused the issue slightly by moving the lettering around to the side again. I hadn't realised. Somebody actually pointed it out to me in the chat here that that's what they've done in previous years prior to the 2022 and the 2021 one. They actually did have that skew F, and I hadn't remembered that, and I went back and checked, and they're correct. So it is actually normal for them to do it. But I think this one's a credit to them. It's a great design, and on the obverse they've got the celebratory Queen's effigy, which I actually think, and I've said this before, is quite good. So that's the main comments out of this video. Was very much that beautiful design, a lot of support for the design, but also that not fair. I didn't grab any. We did the best we could. I know we upset people and we trod on a few toes, and I apologise for that. But that's my reasoning behind it. The next video we were going to look at was the apology that I did very shortly afterwards to try and tidy up a lot of this. So I won't go through it all over again, other than a comment that did come up, and it's not actually related to this coin so much as just a general statement. Actually, I think I'm wrong. I think this was actually made to the next video that we're going to comment on the comments on, which was the Queen's Virtue and the Truth coin, the Queen's Virtue, and the stackable owl. And one of the comments I'd like to pick up on was the comment related to PayPal. Now, I probably should have covered this in a separate video, but I'm going to do it now as well. So we've actually, for those that aren't aware, we've actually removed the ability to pay by PayPal off our website. And we've done it for a couple of reasons. One was we tried to simplify the launch of the website, so it was a complicating factor. So it was held off for that. But at the same time, towards the end of last year, we'd actually copped quite a bit of... We'd had quite a number of problems with PayPal. They've changed their wording with the seller's guarantee. There's been a few minor issues in there that we've had with PayPal that we're trying to sort out with them, and we haven't got the conclusion yet, but we're getting close. For a while there, I wasn't sure we were going to bring PayPal back online. I guess if I'm honest, I'm still on the fence. I'd really rather do without PayPal, although a lot of people want PayPal, particularly our international customers. So we'll bring it back in some form, whether it will be PayPal itself or whether it will be one of the other versions of PayPal. So a lot of people say, I need PayPal to pay by credit card. We can introduce Stripe or one of those companies to actually take care of that. And that is one of the thoughts that's going on at the moment. We will bring back PayPal in some form, even if it's only for a short while. I don't know what form that will be in, but PayPal is quite a difficult one. It causes us, in the bullion industry, it causes a lot of problems. So particularly when you provide the services we do, where we allow people a couple of days to make payment, where we allow people to store on site and things like that, it can cause a lot of issues for a bullion dealer. So that's why you've seen us pause bringing it back up online. Hopefully it won't be out for much longer, but we shall see. Stand by for further information on it. I thought the interesting comment on there, though, was the fact that people like to pay PayPal because they like to stay anonymous. If you look at the PayPal detail itself, you will find that they have far stricter reporting requirements than even the Australian banks do. So that one did make me smile at the end of the day. A few comments, one here from Goat, which cracked me right up. it's the things that you do without noticing that people pick up on that always make me smile. So apparently at the 552 point, I used the box cutter that I had in my hand to point out the finer detail on the coin. You use what's at hand at times, even when it's inappropriate. So, I wasn't lopping off any fingers, but I was just using it as a pointer. It's better than my finger, where I would have left smudge marks all over the coin. So, a lot of support for the coin, a few queries. And I thought this was interesting because I've always considered particularly the owl to be a lower premium product, but they're right. A couple of comments about how it's higher priced than what people would have expected for a generic run-of-the-mill bullion coin. And there's a couple of comments on that I'd probably like to make. One being the fact that it's imported overseas. That always adds to the cost, although the owl traditionally has been a cheaper one. But this time round, the premium has been increased on what we would have charged for, say, the 2021, which was the last one that went through. What people are... I don't want to tell people how to suck eggs here, and it sounds a little bit like that's what I'm doing. We're moving into a higher inflationary environment. We, as a population, are going to have to get used to the fact that things are going to go up in price, that things are going up in price. And that's across the board. It doesn't matter if people say, well, it only should be hitting petrol, or it only should be hitting, my groceries, or that sort of thing. Inflation is insidious. It crosses all boundaries. So you've got to remember, if your cost of living goes up, that cost of living goes across to the people who are producing these coins. So their wages go up, and they are requiring higher premiums to cover their costs. So everything goes up. So you're going to find these lower premium coins that we used to be able to source are actually becoming dearer coins. And you're going to find that a lot of the mints and things like that are going to start putting up their premiums as well. So you're going to find the more generic next level premium coins are going to go up in premium as well. And it's just the way it goes. We've lived for 20 years in this low inflationary environment, and it's a bit of a shock to the system for people younger than me to actually come across inflation again. 20 years ago when we had inflation, when inflation ran at, I can remember interest rates and inflation running in double digits. People aren't used to that, and particularly younger generations have never seen that. So this is a result of that, and we need to get used to it. Doesn't mean we need to accept it and we won't squeeze it wherever we can. And absolutely. I mean, as a company, even as an individual, I'm known as a tight ass. Just ask my kids. But, we don't have to accept it, but we also have to acknowledge that it is going to come across in some form. So be aware of that. All right. And that's pretty much it for the responses section. There's a couple of things I'd like to touch on, or one more thing I'd like to touch on. And you can take this as industry gossip, if you like. So I've heard via the grapevine, via the smoke signals coming out of Perth, that they are about to allow us to order the 5 ounce and the kilo rabbit, which is incredibly exciting because we never see the kilo. We kind of see in about probably April, May. Traditionally, we've seen it that kind of time. So it's only a little bit early on the kilo rabbit, but for the 5 ounce to be out now, sure, if we go back into Series 2, absolutely, it was released at the same time. But for a Series 3, we've never seen one released this early, if the gossip and rumour is accurate. Now, this raises two problems for us. One is how many do we order? And the second is, two problems. Let me rephrase that first problem. The first problem is actually the fact that if they're right on their release dates in the rumours that I'm hearing, the release date is very, very soon. There is no way in God's green earth that Perth Mint is going to be able to get the allocations organised, send out the invoices, accept payment, get them onto couriers and actually get them to us by release date. So if they stick by their release date, It's going to be another one of those, hey, today's release date, you're welcome to place a pre-order, but we don't have them yet. So fully expect that to occur. The other problem that this raises is because they're releasing them so early in the season, is how many production runs are they going to produce? So is this going to be a one and done, or is it going to be several productions over, because they don't really stop producing the rabbit officially until about end of June, start of July, in preparation for next year's dragon. Theoretically, they have time to do multiple production runs over that time. So will the 5 ounce in particular, will it be as limited numbers as the mouse, the ox and the tiger have been? Or will it be a far larger production because they can produce them several times over the run? Now, I suspect, if you want my gut feel as an industry insider, my gut feel is that it will be a one and done. So personally, I'm going to grab the first ones I can get hold of to ensure that I get them. I would not pay an excessive amount for them. So whatever the kind of release number is in dollars and cents, I would secure them at that price. I wouldn't panic buy later on. So if in a week's time or a month's time, you start to see the prices go up, I would hold off at that point. I'd be trying to get them in the first release. But having said that, if there's no indication of them coming out as we get closer and closer to June, July, and you haven't secured your numbers, I would be grabbing them at that point, because we will be able to assess, even if the Perth Mint hasn't officially released, this is the number that we've produced for the year. They don't produce it's incredibly rare that they produce them after that June, start of July period, because all production is geared towards producing the dragon, which again will be incredibly popular. I strongly suggest you get them in the initial release if you can. And then if you can't get them in that initial release, just take a deep breath, wait a few weeks or months, see what happens. And if Perth Mint aren't releasing anymore, you don't see them flooding into the system, then secure any more that you want at that point there. All right, that's the rumour, gossip and innuendos for this week. Stay tuned. We will be, at this stage, we'll be live on Friday, although it will be a different release, because, live stream, because we may be live streaming from somewhere else if that comes off. So stay tuned for further. There's going to be some really exciting buybackings later on this week and into next week. Lots of good fun and games, lots of industry gossip. We'll talk to Ruben again, get some good insider stuff from him from the World Money Fair, all the good things and all the chaos that normally ensues from Bullion Now. We'll talk again soon. See ya.